Well, good morning, folks. I hope you're doing well. Here I am making another recording. As you can see right here, the title. But I wanted to first thank you all for being faithful to watch when I put a new recording out. I know we're like a small family, and that's what I count on. I count on you guys wanting to interact here. I'm hoping that you will put comments in the comment section and stay up here. So, this is kind of unusual for me, an unusual topic, whatever it is, this topic. I'm usually extremely careful to stick with the science fact. What is science? What can be proven in science? And I usually stay totally away from spiritual ideas. I kind of feel like my spiritual and your spiritual are your own business. And so I kind of stay away from that. But I decided that this was a special occasion and we need to talk about it. So here we are talking about it. First of all, remember, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. This is God speaking. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so my ways, his ways, are higher than my puny ways, and his thoughts, his reasoning and logic are higher than my puny reasoning and logic. So I want you to remember that as we progress here. What's going on? So that was my introduction. I have a short agenda, which may turn into a longer agenda. I want to show that my thoughts of God are totally different than Kent or Matt's or young earth creationists, and the God that I serve is infinitely more powerful. So there are some problems with creation scientists, and that includes any of these groups, Answers in Genesis or Genesis creation, or whatever group you want to look at. Evolution versus creation debate. There's a little thing I have about what Kent says that I want to talk about. And then, of course, my God versus Kent Hovind's God. So, first off, I see big problems with the young earth creationism model. So we have scientists that work in totally unrelated fields, they don't cross over. You rarely find cosmic scientists doing physics or whatever. they're separate. But science agrees about the Earth, the solar system, and the universe ages. And these are all calculated through differing ways. Cosmologists may use the background radiation, you know, astrophysicists may look at the expansion of the universe and stars that are galaxies that are moving away from us. But creationists rarely mention dates. You cannot find a creationist that will look at anything, geology, outcropping, fossils, and say, see, this points to 6,000 years ago. Not one of them. And I can give you some examples. I know I've seen Jason Lyles say that the Oort cloud, where all the comets come from, would have run out after 100,000 years. Well, that's all well and good, but 100,000 is a lot bigger than 6,000. Saturn's rings couldn't be more than 100,000 years old. Just so you know, they're not. But again, that doesn't prove 6,000. Jupiter should have cooled off after 100,000 years. Again, that doesn't prove 6,000. You have all these things that creationists show as proof that the Earth is young, but they say young, not 13.8 billion years old. But they have no proof of the date that they're saying. The number one evidence of the age of the Earth, Noah's flood, everything is the Grand Canyon. Check out any of these websites. Anybody, Kent, Matt Powell, AIG, Genesis Creation, all of these places, they first go to Grand Canyon and they never really mention any other spot on Earth. If you look, if you check, and I did, the Grand Canyon covers about 1/1000th of 1% of the Earth's surface area. So imagine your beach ball or whatever, something the size of a grain of sand on there is the Grand Canyon. And yet that is the singular go-to area for creationists and flood geologists or whatever. They don't want to talk about anybody else. They only want to talk about how the Grand Canyon proves it. It just blows my mind that we're talking about the creation of the planet. We're talking about a global flood that destroyed everything, and all the proof you can get is one tiny grain of sand on one spot of the planet. That is an error. And then there are many, many small inconsistencies that are offered up. I could tell you 1,000 of them. And there's no real proof to go against those 1,001 inconsistencies. So here's the thing. I mean, if Kent or Matt, whoever wants to pull me over into young earth creationism, you need to do something similar to this. And there can be a ton of experiments, but the experiment I was thinking of is take data, any kind of data, whatever you're looking at, from widely separated areas of the earth. So examples I wrote down were Grand Canyon, the Mariana Trench, Amazon River, Congo, and Australia. And so you have these widely varied spots on the planet, and you can go to those and point to something and say, see, this shows 6,000 years ago the earth was created. Bam, wham, bam, it's right there, okay? That's all you have to do. But nobody wants to do that. They're afraid that what is created, what is there, is not acceptable. Here's two things that I have real frustration with Kent. One thing I've heard him say many times is that evolution is a theory of death. You have to die in order for the change, evolution to take place. I beg to differ with that, and I'm going to show you why I differ. For evolution to evolve, there has to be a mutation in DNA. There has to be some change. This individual is, his beak size is growing, or his brow ridge is reducing, whatever it might be. There has to be a mutation to the DNA. And then these mutations must have a related mutation with somebody else, because he can't change the population by himself. It's got to be through progeny. And and you have to understand that the changes are small, little changes. There are things that happen gradually over a course of time, and no, some reptile did not decide millions of years ago to have wings, and so he sort of started making these small changes so that, in a million years his ancestors would have wings. That's not the point. But these are individual changes that are small. And yes, the individual has to die, but everybody has to die. Everyone, every animal, every sea creature, they all die. Everybody dies. And the mutations pass on or they don't pass on. But that death is just the individual. And it's just experiencing the normal reality of life and death. Now, on young earth creationism, on the other hand, Kent says once God created the heavens and the earth, sin came into the world by one man, and by him, that one man and sin, death came into the world. Cain killed his brother Abel. Death. Every man, woman, child, baby, every animal of every kind, small, big, cute, ugly, every single animal on the face of the earth, and probably every tree, every plant, all green life, had to be eradicated due to the sin of man, death. Check out Matt Powell's latest video. Very depressing. Alcohol kills. Tobacco kills. Smoking kills. Drugs kill. Death. Standing for truth. Donnie, these other guys talk about how each generation of humans, and they're talking just the humans for now, get 100 new mutations every generation. So my children, their children, every child automatically gets probably 100 new mutations. And of course, their feeling is that all mutations are detrimental. And so they call this is a new term called genetic entropy. Entropy comes out of physics. Genetic comes out of biology. This genetic entropy means that human beings, as of the flood, have been headed downhill ever since. Our DNA, our genome is getting worse. It's getting more disordered. And so that's where the entropy comes in. And so genetic entropy proposes that humanity is nearing its extinction. I know that you didn't get up this morning thinking you're going to be extinct, but it could happen anytime. So these are the two opposing viewpoints here of young Earth creations and evolution. One is life, the improvement, the increasing improvement of life. One is genetic entropy and the death that's coming to us all. So here we go with the two versions, if you want to call it, of God. So Kent and Matt's God, young Earth creationists. If there was things before creation, they don't know. We don't think about that. We don't care about that. Anything that happened before time t equals 0. So there was nothing there. Then sometime or other, God decided we're going to create a universe. So God created the heavens and the earth. So heaven, earth, light, sun, moon, stars, all that, and the life, sea life, land, animals, birds, all the life was all created within 1 week 6 days. So 6 days, all of this happened. That's it. On the seventh day, God sat back and rested. That was basically the end of creation. So, when did all this happen? Do we have an idea of when creation happened? Of course, the young earth creationists have a date. They've taken our modern Gregorian calendar and days, the 24-hour days that we experience now, and they've carried those back, walking through history, all of the recorded incidents in history, until they have a point where Bible history and recorded history are identical. That is their starting point. The age so far is from today's date, back to this date. Then, from this date, they can take the genealogy, ages of the patriarchs, and add those all up back to Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were at the creation, so that gives us a date for creation. This is all assuming uniformitarianism. They don't like to talk about things being uniformitarianism because that ruins all their other arguments about radiation and all these things are ruined if things happen through uniformitarianism. But that's what they're using here, and they count all these dates and they come up with creation happened about 6,000 years ago. And if you check some references, they actually have a BC date for the day that creation happened. And then the accepted date for Noah's flood, calculated the same way. You know where Noah fell in the patriarchs. You know his age when he started building the ark, when he built the ark, and the date that the flood started. If you calculate that based on uniformitarianism, you get 2348 BC. That's it. The end. Everything else has some doubt to it. The speed of light may not be the same. Stars don't move like scientists think they do. Everything else is completely doubtful. So what Kent has done, Matt and the rest of the creationists, is they've got a little box, a shoebox here. I was going to bring one, I didn't, but they have a little shoebox. They put God down in there and closed it up. As long as God and creation, Noah's Ark, Noah's flood, all of it, as long as it fits in that one time, everything, as long as it fits in that one little box, we're doing okay. So, if you ever watched the Aladdin movie from Disney, Some of you may not have seen it, but the genie says, phenomenal cosmic power, itty bitty living space. That's Kent's God, itty bitty living space. Now, Kent can say all he wants that 6,000 years is a long time, but it's not as long as infinity. If you want to believe that God is infinite, then you've got a lot of explaining to do for what happens outside that little box. So, my God, the God that I believe in, that I've always, since I was a little kid, believed in. Science gives us almost exact dates for the beginning of the universe. Cosmology, astrophysics, stellar astrophysics, solar and planetary astrophysics, each of these point back to the same exact instant, which they're now calling the Big Bang. But science doesn't know what happened to cause that Big Bang or why everything was in that singularity. And so they took everything all the way back, and they don't know that one little part. But we do, don't we? Again, I imagine the Hall of Mountain King, the night on Bald Mountain, this big dark figure standing there, and in the beginning, what God created, the heaven and the earth, and it was so. Okay? There was a massive release of energy. I think, lately scientists have kind of brought up different theories of what might have happened there, but I believe that there was this spark added by God, and bam, all this took place. All this energy was released into the universe. And a brand new baby universe began. And so this release of energy begins the generation of mass, gravity, the laws of physics, and even time. Scientists lately, we've started calling space and time as one thing. Space-time, and everything fits together, okay? All of this space-time and mass and gravity and laws of physics, the theory of relativity, and all of this, you might think of turmoil, but all of this expansion of all this stuff gives you the birth of the universe. Everything fits together. Everything follows the physical laws, the laws of the universe. And it's all orchestrated like a big orchestra by the God, the great all-powerful composer. It's just incredible, the phenomenal cosmic power. And then the creation of life is the same thing. Scientists can look back, all different scientists from different fields look back, they find the same 4.5 billion years old for the age of the Earth. They can tell how life evolved by looking backwards. Obviously, 2020 hindsight and all that, and all of it points back to one point where the Earth grew and life began, the geology began, and but scientists don't know what started life. They can speculate, they can run experiments, they have theories, but that one instant, they don't have accurate science to cover. So what happened there? All evidence, geology, fossils, evolution can be traced back through the ages with the touch of God. Where did life start? Again, even though we have a point in time, we know when it probably started, but all the organic chemicals were there, the chemicals that we currently have in our bodies. But then, wham, bam, God added that initial spark, that same spark he used to start the Big Bang, that same spark added, and life began. And that's my reason why the God that I serve is so much bigger, more powerful, awesomeness than what Kent tries to put in his little shoebox. Okay, that's where I got this. That's where I came into this video, was trying to show that just because you don't believe in the little box, the 6,000 plus years, doesn't mean that you don't believe in God, or that you're somehow some evil, satanic person. So what I believe is that God is overarching, overall, and science has its place to discover what it can of the machinings, the workings, the evidence of the universe, and science always agrees with timing, with how everything works together, but then that spark of God is what starts everything. And when you think of I always think of the movement of the stars, the galaxies, the sun, the planets and their moons moving around the sun. All of this is like a grand composition, a huge orchestra with players. Where Kent is a player, David is a player, you personally are a player, and in this orchestra, with God as the composer and the conductor, everything works the way He designed it and composed it. Now, you can disagree with me if you want. That's fine. I have no reservations that everybody's going to believe what I believe, but try to capture that things can be different than that small idea, that little shoebox full of things, the clam that didn't open and all of that stuff that Kent has. That little shoebox is not where God is, and it's not where the creation is. Okay, so what I want you to take from me is that you can believe in God. God controls and orchestrates the universe, and you can believe in science. That science can point back to when the universe began, when time began, and not conflict with each other. So that's what I had for you today, and I hope you'll take it with a grain of salt.